Have you ever wondered why some women evoke a fleeting interest, while others, sometimes without any visible effort, leave an indelible, almost mystical mark on a man's soul? Why one kind of beauty captivates for a moment and is then forgotten, while another, perhaps less conventional, makes him pause, listen, and unconsciously draw closer to its possessor, like a moth to a mysterious, alluring light? The answer lies not in clothing, not in figure, and not even in a sharp mind. It lies on a much deeper, invisible plane, the plane of states of being. There are special feminine states, subtle, almost imperceptible vibrations of the soul that a man reads not with his mind, but with his entire being, instantly and unmistakably. These states are both frightening and attractive at the same time. They are dangerous to the conventional world of male logic because they cannot be explained, cannot be controlled, and cannot be won over with simple courtship. One can only plunge into them, as into a deep pool, and fall hopelessly in love. The great psychoanalyst Carl Jung, who dedicated his life to studying the depths of the human psyche, spoke of the process of individuation, a path to discovering oneself, one's true, whole I. And these very dangerous states we will talk about today are not tricks or masks. They are the most vivid manifestations of a woman who has dared to walk this path. A woman who has met her shadow, accepted her power, and allowed her inner anima, her feminine essence, to resonate at full strength. When a man encounters such a woman, he feels something more than just sympathy. He feels a resonance on his soul level. He sees before him not a function, not a wife, not a lover, not the mother of his children, but an entire universe, mysterious and boundless. And this gives rise in him not just a desire to possess, but a sacred awe and a deep, all-consuming respect, which is the very foundation of true love. Today, we will unveil 5 such hypnotic states. This is not something you can learn in one evening. This is something you can awaken within yourself, peeling away layer after layer of others' expectations, fears, and imposed roles. Each of these states is a key that opens the door to your own subconscious, to your true power. Are you ready to find out what magic is hidden inside you? Are you ready to become the woman whose image a man will carry in his heart forever? Then let's begin, and pay special attention to the 4th and 5th states. They contain the quintessence of that very freedom that drives men mad and makes them love without looking back. State 1. Calm in chaos, the quiet center of the hurricane. Imagine a situation. Plans are collapsing, passions are raging, the world around you is plunging into panic and turmoil. Everyone is shouting, looking for someone to blame, scurrying about in anxiety. And in the midst of this storm, there is a woman. She does not ignore what is happening. She sees everything, hears everything, but within her, there is silence. Her gaze is clear, her movements are smooth, her voice is even. She is an unshakable rock against which the waves of others' panic crash. She is the quiet center of the hurricane. This is the first and perhaps the most powerful state that a man reads as a sign of incredible inner strength. In a world where women are often expected to have emotional outbursts, drama, and a need to be saved, such steadfastness acts hypnotically. It is dangerous to his ego, which is used to playing the role of the savior, because he suddenly realizes this woman does not need saving. Next to her, he wants to be saved himself. Carl Jung would call this state a manifestation of an integrated animus, the inner masculine principle that gives a woman structure, logic, and support. This does not mean she becomes a man in a skirt. On the contrary, it is the presence of this inner support that allows her anima, her femininity, to be soft, fluid, and accepting, without fear of being destroyed by external chaos. She does not suppress her emotions. She has become their master. She does not deny the storm. She has learned to dance in its very heart. When a man sees such a woman, something clicks in his subconscious. He instinctively understands. She will not shift the responsibility for her happiness onto him. She will not throw tantrums to get attention. She will not drain his energy with her fears and anxieties. Her calmness is not coldness or indifference. It is a deep wisdom that says, I will manage. We will manage. It is a promise not of eternal calm, but of a safe harbor in any storm. Most women in a stressful situation unconsciously fall into the damsel in distress archetype, calling out to the male protector. This works, but it only creates short-term guardianship, not deep respect. A woman who is in the state of the quiet center of the hurricane, however, activates a completely different archetype in a man, not the savior, but the ally. He sees in her not an object to be protected, but an equal partner with whom he can go and conquer the world. Her calmness does not relax him. On the contrary, it mobilizes him. Next to her, he himself becomes stronger, more composed, more confident. How does one cultivate this state? It is not born from attempts to maintain a facade. It is born from deep inner work, encountering the shadow. Jung taught that everything we deny in ourselves controls us from the shadows. Your fear of chaos, your panic, your anxiety, this is your shadow. Stop running from it. Acknowledge it. Yes, I am afraid. Yes, I am panicking. Allow these feelings to be, but do not let them take you over. Observe them as you would passing clouds. This is the first step toward managing them, the practice of grounding. In moments of chaos, bring your attention back to your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. This physical action pulls you out of the mental hurricane and returns you to the here and now, developing inner support. Your calmness is directly proportional to your confidence that you will endure, no matter what happens. This is not blind optimism, but a knowledge of your own strength. Ask yourself the question, what is the worst that can happen? And what will I do then? Once you find the answer, you stop fearing the question. A man may not understand these subtleties, but he reads the result unmistakably. He sees a woman whose inner silence is louder than any scream, whose steadfastness is more attractive than any passion. He looks at her and understands. She is a harbor, and he is willing to sail through any seas to return to this harbor again. And again, this state doesn't make you convenient. It makes you priceless. State 2, daring vulnerability, the strength of a bared heart. The second state seems paradoxical, but its power is devastating. It is daring vulnerability. It is not weakness, not complaining, not tears with a plea for help. It is the courage to be open and real in a world that demands we wear masks. It is the ability to say, I'm in pain, I'm scared, I don't know the right way, not from a position of a victim, but from a position of strength. Why is this dangerous and hypnotic? Because it is completely disarming. A man accustomed to games, manipulations, feminine wiles, and defensive barriers suddenly encounters pure, unclouded truth. It's like stepping out of a stuffy room into the fresh, frosty air. It is shocking and sobering. His persona, his social mask cracks and crumbles, because it is impossible to remain false next to such authenticity. Carl Jung said that a true meeting between two people occurs when their souls touch without the mediation of the ego. Daring vulnerability is precisely the invitation to such a meeting. A woman who is not afraid to show her imperfect inner self unconsciously says to a man, I trust you enough that I can show you my bared heart. And you? Are you brave enough to show me yours? This state is fundamentally different from whining and neediness. A needy woman says, I'm miserable without you. Save me. She shifts responsibility. A daringly vulnerable woman says, I'm having a hard time right now, but I'll manage. I just want you to know about it. She keeps the responsibility for herself, but shares the feeling. This is a subtle but crucial difference. In the first case, a man feels used, obligated. In the second chosen, initiated into a secret. He sees that she is not trying to manipulate him. Her openness is not weakness, but the highest form of trust and self-respect. She respects herself so much that she does not consider her weak feelings to be something shameful. Such a woman is not afraid to seem foolish by asking a question. She is not afraid to admit that she doesn't know how to do something. She is not afraid to say sorry if she was wrong. And this honesty creates a field of absolute safety around her. Next to her, a man doesn't need to be a superhero. He doesn't need to constantly prove his worth. He can exhale and be himself, because she has already shown him the way. Cultivating this state requires tremendous courage. It is the path of a spiritual warrior, accepting your shadow. Your shadow is not only your bad qualities, but also everything you consider your weakness. Vulnerability, sensitivity, fear of mistakes. Jung taught that integrating the shadow is the key to wholeness. Stop hiding your vulnerability. Befriend it. Understand that it is what makes you alive. Rejecting perfectionism. Perfectionism is a mask that hides the fear of judgment. Every time you are afraid to make a mistake or appear imperfect, you feed this fear. Allow yourself to be imperfect. Do something that isn't a plus work. Say something that isn't the smartest thing. And you will see that the world did not collapse. And you have become freer. The practice of honest I statements. Instead of accusations, you hurt me. Talk about your feelings. When you do that, I feel hurt. This shifts the focus from his guilt to your inner reality, which is an act of vulnerability, not aggression. A man encountering a woman in a state of daring vulnerability goes through several stages. First surprise, then respect, and finally, a deep, tender affection. He understands that this woman will not play cat and mouse with him. She is a real, living person. And that is the most potent aphrodisiac. He sees her courage to be herself and unconsciously wants to protect that courage, to cherish that open heart, not out of pity, but out of admiration, because there is nothing more sexual and attractive than strength that is not afraid to be vulnerable. State 3, self-sufficient, melancholy, a mystery one longs to touch. The third state is one of the most subtle and misunderstood. It is self-sufficient, melancholy. It is not depression, not universal sorrow, and not despondency. It is a quiet, luminous sadness, an immersion in one's own inner world that requires no audience and no saviors. It is the state of a woman sitting by the window with a book while it rains outside, and her face is calm and detached. She is not unhappy. She is deep. Why does this state have such a hypnotic effect on men? Because it creates a mystery. In our world, overflowing with artificial cheerfulness, demonstrative happiness, and a constant search for external stimuli, a woman who is comfortable in her own silence and gentle sadness looks like a visitor from another, more complex and refined world. Her melancholy does not scream, "Pity me." It whispers, "There are whole universes inside of me that you know nothing about." Carl Jung placed great importance on introversion and immersion in the unconscious. He believed that it is in these depths that creativity, wisdom, and a true understanding of oneself are born. Self-sufficient melancholy is the outward manifestation of a rich inner life. It is a sign that a woman is in contact with her soul, with her anima. She is not looking for something to fill a void, because there is no void. Within her, there is depth. A man, seeing such a woman, feels a curiosity mixed with awe. His typical methods of seduction, jokes, compliments, displays of status may not work. She seems to be behind an invisible glass. To reach her, one must offer something more than superficial entertainment. One must offer silence, understanding, depth. This state challenges him. Are you interesting enough to share my solitude with me? This is dangerous because it completely breaks the usual script where the man must entertain and amuse the woman. Here, he himself wants to be admitted into her world. He sees that her happiness does not depend on him, and this is both frightening and incredibly attractive. He cannot fix her because she is not broken. He cannot cheer her up because she is not in sorrow. All he can do is try to understand. And this process of understanding becomes the beginning of a deep love. How to distinguish self-sufficient? Melancholy from toxic depression? Melancholy is self-sufficient. A woman in this state can enjoy solitude, read, listen to music, take a walk. She is fulfilled. Depression is needy. A woman in depression seeks external rescue, complains, blames the world. Her energy is heavy and draining. It is impossible to cultivate this state artificially. It comes on its own when you begin to value your inner world. The practice of conscious solitude. Set aside time to be alone with yourself, without gadgets and distractions. Not as a punishment, but as a date with yourself. Listen to the silence. Observe your thoughts. Interaction with art, music, painting, poetry. These are the languages of the soul. Immersing yourself in art that resonates with your state deepens and enriches your inner world. Keep a journal. Jung considered journaling a powerful tool for dialogue with the unconscious. By writing down your dreams, feelings, and reflections, you create a map of your inner world, and you begin to feel comfortable and interested in it. When a man meets a woman in a state of self-sufficient melancholy, he sees in her not just a beautiful shell. He sees a soul. He sees a riddle that he wants to solve for the rest of his life. He instinctively understands that such a woman will not betray him, will not trade herself for trifles, will not create superficial dramas. Her quiet sadness is a sign of depth, and he is ready to dive into this depth, risking never wanting to return to the surface. State 4. Detached passion. A fire that warms, but does not burn. And now we have arrived at one of the most powerful and dangerous states. Detached passion. It is a fire that burns inside a woman, but she directs this fire not at a man, but at life itself. She may be passionately engaged in her work, her creativity, her travels, her learning of new things. Her eyes light up when she talks about her pursuits. Her life is filled with a meaning that is not confined to relationships. Why does this state hypnotize a man until he is senseless? Because he sees before him not a woman who is waiting for him to come and make her life interesting, but a woman whose life is already a captivating adventure, and he desperately wants to become a part of that adventure. This completely flips the dynamic. He is not the prize. She is. Her attention, her time, her energy, that is the true reward. Carl Jung spoke of the process of individuation as the realization of one's unique potential. A woman in a state of detached passion is a person walking her own path, realizing herself. Her passion is the energy of her soul that has found an outlet. She does not cling to a man because her hands are busy. She is building her own life. She does not demand that he fill her leisure time because she simply doesn't have any. This state is dangerous for the male ego because he ceases to be the center of her universe. He understands that he will have to compete for her attention, not with other men, but with her beloved work, with her books, with her plans for the weekend. He cannot just come and take her. He needs to become as interesting as her own life. And this challenge awakens the best qualities in him, the desire to grow, to develop, to become a worthy partner for such a woman. Detached passion is not selfishness or ignoring a man. On the contrary, when such a woman does decide to be with Him, her choice has colossal value. He knows that she is with him, not out of boredom, not out of loneliness, not out of fear. She is with him because she chose IT. She chose him from among hundreds of other fascinating things in her life. And this realization is more intoxicating than any wine. Her passion is contagious. Next to her, he himself wants to burn. She doesn't nag him for working a lot, because she herself is passionate about her work. She doesn't demand reports from him, because she values her freedom and his. A relationship with her is not a cage, but a union of two free, burning souls. It is a partnership, not a dependency. How do you ignite this fire within yourself? Find your why. Jung believed that a life without meaning is unbearable. What ignites you? What makes your heart beat faster? It doesn't matter if it brings in money. What matters is that it brings you joy and a sense of fulfillment. Dedicate time to it. This is your sacred duty to your soul. Create your own life. Don't wait for someone to invite you to the movies or on a trip. Go by yourself. Travel, learn, try new things. Become the main character of your own novel. Learn to enjoy the process. Passion is not only achieving a goal, but also loving the journey itself. Fall in love with your work, your hobby, the very process of creation. When you get a kick out of what you do, you radiate an energy that attracts universal admiration. A man, seeing a woman in a state of detached passion, does not fall in love with her appearance. He falls in love with her energy, with her light. He sees that she is whole. She is a self-sufficient source of warmth and light, and he instinctively gravitates toward this source to get warm, to ignite himself. He understands that this woman will never become boring, predictable. She is life itself, vibrant, unpredictable, and incredibly desirable. And to lose such a woman is to lose the very taste for life. State 5. Playful. Wisdom. The lightness of being that has known depth. Finally, the fifth state, the crown jewel of feminine wholeness. Playful wisdom. It is a wondrous fusion of depth and lightness, of experience and childlike spontaneity. It is the state of a woman who has known both pain and disappointment, but has not allowed them to make her cynical and heavy. She has walked through the darkness of her shadow and emerged into the light, not with the serious face of a prophet, but with the mischievous smile of a child. Such a woman knows how to laugh at herself. She doesn't take life too seriously. She sees the grand game, the cosmic dance, and gladly takes part in it. She can talk about Jungian archetypes, and a minute later be silly and blow soap bubbles. There is no dissonance in her. There is harmony. Why is this state the most hypnotic? Because it combines everything a man dreams of. She has a depth with which one can talk about the eternal, self-sufficient melancholy. She has a calmness on which one can rely, the quiet center of the hurricane. She has an honesty that one can trust, daring vulnerability. She has a fire that inspires, detached passion. And all of this is seasoned with lightness, playfulness, and a lack of drama. Carl Jung would describe this as the attainment of the self. It is the state of a whole personality that is reconciled. All opposites within itself, the wise old man and the eternal child, the pure and senex archetypes, the anima and animus, the conscious and the unconscious. Such a woman does not play a role. She simply lives. Her wisdom is not in her teachings, but in her ability to turn any problem into an interesting task, any drama into a comedy. Next to such a woman, a man feels absolutely free. She will not judge him. She will not control him. She will not weigh him down. She is a movable feast. But this is not the superficial cheerfulness of a clown. Her lightness has weight because it is based on a deep understanding of life. She knows that everything passes. She knows that most problems aren't worth fussing over. And this knowledge gives her incredible freedom. This is dangerous because such a woman is completely unpredictable. She can support him in a difficult moment with wise advice, or she can simply suggest eating ice cream in the middle of the night. She shatters all stereotypes. She is alive, and it is intoxicating. A man next to her feels that he too is becoming a boy again, brave, free, ready for adventures. She awakens in him not only the man, but also his inner child. And this dual resonance creates the strongest bond. This state is not a goal, but the result of the entire preceding journey. Develop a sense of humor, especially toward yourself. The ability to laugh at your own shortcomings and mistakes is a sign of the greatest strength. Practice spontaneity. Do something that is not in your plan. Turn down an unfamiliar street. Talk to a stranger. Let life surprise you. Play. It doesn't matter what. Board games, flirting, creating something new. Play is the antidote to the deadly seriousness that kills joy. When a man meets a woman in a state of playful wisdom, he realizes he has found his treasure. He sees in her the ideal partner, a friend, a lover, a muse, an advisor, and an eternal child all in one. She does not demand that he be perfect, because she herself has given up that illusion. She simply invites him to her dance. And it is impossible to refuse this invitation. To fall in love with such a woman is to fall in love with life itself, in all its fullness, tragedy, and delightful absurdity. Conclusion: you are not the seeker. You are the space. The 5 states we have considered today are not a set of masks to be worn in turn. They are facets of a single, whole, integrated personality. They are stages of a great journey that Jung called individuation, a path home to the true self, calm in chaos, daring vulnerability, self-sufficient melancholy, detached passion, playful wisdom. All of this is a manifestation of a woman who has stopped seeking love, approval, and rescue in the outside world. She turned inward and found everything she needed there. She met her shadow and was not afraid. She integrated her inner animus and found her footing. She allowed her anima to resonate freely and filled the world with beauty. It is at this moment that the magic happens. When you stop seeking, you begin to be found. When you stop needing, people begin to want to give you everything. When you become whole, you, like a magnet, begin to attract other whole, mature, and interesting people to yourself. The man you meet on this path will be attracted not by your beauty, but by your light. Not by your words, but by your silence. Not by your achievements, but by your energy. He will fall hopelessly in love, not because you tried to please him, but because you dared to be yourself. He reads these 5 states instantly because they are not acted, but lived. They are in your gaze, in your posture, in the pauses between your words, in the way you drink your coffee and watch the rain. This path is not a sprint, but a marathon. It requires courage, honesty, and patience. There will be moments when you want to give up and return to the usual masks and roles. But Jung would assure you that every step toward yourself, even the smallest one, is the most valuable contribution to your happiness. Stop trying to be someone. Just be. Listen to yourself. What are you feeling right now? Which of these states already lives in you, and which is asking to come out? Start small, with one deep breath in the midst of chaos. With one honest phrase about your feelings. With 10 minutes of silence alone with yourself. You are not a half searching for another. You are a whole universe that can share its light with another universe. And then what is born is not dependence, but a union. Not a relationship, but a dance. Not a love of need, but a love of abundance. Become the woman whose encounter divides a man's life into before and after. Not because you did something to make it happen, but because you finally allowed yourself to simply be. To be deep, to be real, to be free, to be dangerously, hypnotically, unforgettably alive.